Hello everybody out there watching on YouTube, and welcome to the fourth and final event of this Thanksgiving edition of Daytona Speedweek. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody watching, and thank you for tuning in to this rather than NFL. I am Levi McIntyre, the voice of the NNSCRA Marvel Studios Cup Series, here to welcome you to the first official points race of Season 3, the Daytona 500 here at Daytona International Speedway, as we are getting set for 40 laps of racing here at the track for the Great American Race. So, a lot of stuff that is going to happen here in this race. The lineup has been determined thanks to pole day as well as the duels yesterday. And as we double check the starting lineup, as you guys should already know the lineup from yesterday, but a reminder, starting in the last row will be JT Bryant and Dylan Poteet. Top 10, Jessica Sheldon on the pole, who qualified on the pole back during Daytona pole day back on Tuesday. Starting next to her will be Andrew Rich, who qualified second during pole day. The second row will be William Brock third. Fourth will be Joshua Sekuli. Both of those guys won their respective Gatorade dual races to get those good starting spots. Row 3 will be Trent Dunham and Dylan Young. Row 4, Zach Flickinger, Charles Jackson. And then row 5, Tim Walsh and Austin LaPlante. With that being said, let's go ahead and get the command to fire engines for the Daytona 500 on Thanksgiving Day at Daytona.
Drivers, start your engines!
So there's all the cars in this field, as this is going to be quite the race. I believe last season we ran 30 laps here. This season we're going to extend it to 40 laps, so this is going to be quite the lengthy event. And keep in mind, after about 20 to 21 laps, pit stops, I believe, will be a factor if this race is going to be green the entire way through. And if it comes down to that point, then it's going to be very, very close for a lot of people to see if whether or not they can make it on gas. But we shall see how everything turns out in this race. As far as any tandems we could see here in the early going, well, we got a couple of Stewart-Haas racing teammates up here, William Brock and Zach Flickinger. And actually, within reach are three of the 5 Furniture Row racing cars. You got Joshua Sekuli up here, and then together in row 6, Dylan Jacobs and rookie Jake Rogers. So I'm looking around for Matt Haas in the 77. See if I can't find him anywhere. He's actually right behind Jake Rogers, so all 4 of the Furniture Row racing cars that made it into the race could work together. But anyways, pace car pulling into pit road, which means it is time to boogity 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 go Turkey Day racing. Well, Joshua Sekuli may have led that lap, but the big story now is that we had just had the big one strike here at Daytona. As we look around, Joshua Collard was one of the drivers involved. He's heavily damaged. Looks like Matt Haas got a piece of it. Kyle Matthews was involved. Anthony McCurry, I'm not sure. Or either for James Qualls. Jake Rogers damaged. The defending race winner, JT Bryant, was involved. Chris Michaels was in it as well. And I don't know if Johnny Gardner got involved or not. Benjamin Miles, it looks like he may have damage. But it does seem like the big one has struck early in the Daytona 500. And Joshua Sekuli is your leader. So while we wait for everything to be settled out, let's go ahead and take a look at the replay of what brought the caution out for the first time today here in the Daytona 500 on Thanksgiving Day. Well, this is just a case of drivers attempting 4 wide and nobody really giving anybody any room. So Rafael Leduc gets underneath of Jay Jefferson, and Jefferson tries to get underneath Matt Haas. Matt Haas tries to give room but ends up collecting his teammate Jake Rogers, and then they just come up right into Jay Jefferson, Benjamin Miles, Johnny Gardner got involved. And then we had a separate incident happen. It looked like it might have been between Dylan Poteet and James Qualls. JT Bryant got caught up in it. Same with McCrory, Kyle Matthews. Joshua Collard was an innocent bystander in this whole ordeal. Oh, and I think we may have just figured out as to why Qualls and company got involved. Let's watch the 31 of Dylan Poteet. He sees the smoke, but he goes down below the yellow line, and that's not going to work. He ends up coming up into the 22 and the 70, which in turn collects the 43. And that's how Qualls and company got involved. How in the world did Chris Michaels get in it is the question. And another question would be for Kyle Matthews. Well, Kyle just kind of plowed in there because he couldn't see because of the smoke. But for Chris Michaels, it looked like, man, there was a couple hard hits given. First, yeah, there was a hard hit from the 17 into the 77, which nearly flipped the 77 up into the catch fence. But the hardest hit I think I'd seen in the crash was Benjamin Miles. Watch this as the 87 comes back up, gets the 5 right there. Couple hard licks in there, and I'm shocked those guys are still going. Benjamin Miles riding up against the wall. But I tell you, the lucky driver that managed to avoid all this was the 41 of Mark Lane. He just stayed in the throttle, I guess, and kept it going. And speaking of Mark Lane, we're going to take you to an onboard shot from the 41's in-car camera. On board with the 41 of Mark Lane. Watch as he sneaks by this wreck. I don't know how he didn't run into the back of the 77 right there. Well, after that first caution, we got quite a few cars out of the race. Seth Cole retired, and from what I gathered, it was from a bunch of guys trying to bunch up and nobody slowing down. And the 98 ran into the back of the 01 of William Brock, so I don't know if William Brock will be up to speed. Chris Michaels is out, along with JT Bryant, Kyle Matthews, Matt Haas, and Joshua Collard. So we only have 36 cars left on track, but Joshua Sekuli is still your race leader as they all pitted. Behind them will be Trent Dunham in second. Third is Dylan Jacobs. Fourth, Dylan Young. Fifth is Matt McIntyre. Sixth, Charles Sanford. Seventh, Jonathan Zorline. Eighth, Jessica Sheldon. Ninth, Zach Flickinger. 10th is Phil Parker. Let me take a drink. Anyways, 11th is Dorian Facepuncher. 12th is DJ Curtis. 13th is Preston Plord. 14th is Dylan Thoreau. 15th, William Brock. 16th, double checking, yeah, 16th is Chris Dollarton. 17th, Rafael Leduc. 18th, Emmanuel Hartnett. 19th, Dylan Poteet. 20th, Pichu London. 21st, Charles Jackson. 22nd, Austin LaPlante. 23rd, Andrew Rich. 24th, Mark Lane. 25th, David Rivera. 16th, Sean Galligan, or 26th, Sean Galligan. 27th, Dougie Shears. 28th, PJ Williams. 29th, Tim Walsh. 30th, James Qualls. 31st is Anthony McCurry. 32nd, Johnny Gardner. 33rd is Jay Jefferson. 34th, Jake Rogers. 35th, Benjamin Miles, and then 36th, Paul Minnick with no hood, as he was a guy caught up with Seth Cole and company, and the green flag is back out with 35 to go. Trent Dunham with the run on the outside. Is he going to go for the crossover move? I guess he ain't going for it yet. Meanwhile, we got a move coming up for third. Dylan Young trying to go underneath Dylan Jacobs for that position. So far, 2 of the 4 Furniture Row Racing drivers that are in the race. The only one who isn't in the race is James Shelley, and that's because he failed to qualify. But 2 out of 4 that are in the race have run into problems. Jake Rogers and Matt Haas, who is out of it completely. Only 2 remain, and they run up here in the top 5. Sukuli in the lead with Dylan Jacobs in 4th. Meanwhile, it's 3 wide for 5th on back. Jonathan Zorline with a run with help from Phil Parker, it looks like. Who in turn is getting help from his teammate Dorian Facepuncher. And their team owner, Dylan Young, is battling for 2nd underneath Trent Dunham with help from Dylan Jacobs. Typical with the restrictor plate tracks, your friends are where you find them. Looking around to see if anybody's off the pace, and it looks like the main ones are Jake Rogers and Paul Minnick, maybe Benjamin Miles. But everybody else seems relatively up to speed. As Sukuli has been the dominant car so far in this race, but he's got a lot of people chomping at the bit right behind him. And Dylan Young gonna go for the lead now, it looks like. And he's gonna get some help from Sukuli's teammate Dylan Jacobs. First pass for the lead since lap number 1. Dylan Jacobs getting some help from Dylan Thoreau in that middle line. But now Chris Dollarton gonna break it up, and Dylan Jacobs gonna come down in front of Chris Dollarton to try to get to 2nd. Now you gotta wonder, after they pitted on lap 2 or 3 under caution, you gotta wonder when they'll make their next pit stop, because they can't make it on a 1-stop pit stop. They gotta go again, so I expect around lap 24-25, if this race goes green for a long time, that laps 24 and 25 will be the laps when everybody starts coming in the pit road to try to make it the rest of the way on fuel. But anyways, we got a Young Motorsports 1-2 up here. Dylan Young in the lead with his teammate Chris Dollarton in 2nd. But now he's going to go down and get some help from DJ Curtis. That was good, actually a good tandem work with the 14 and the 23, even though they're different teams. They are under the Ford umbrella. And here comes Charles Jackson, who's a former winner of the Daytona 500 in the Walmart Cup Series a long, long time ago. He's won to win it again, but in a brand new series. Meanwhile, Emmanuel Hartnett in the 20, he's found his way up into the fray, along with the 24 Matt McIntyre, and the pole setter Jessica Sheldon's back up here. Three wide for the lead. Hartnett with the run on the bottom underneath of the 00. And Hartnett, for the time being, is going to get the race lead. Oh, but he's going to leave that bottom open again. And here comes Shelton, who's wanting to get that extra bonus point for leading a lap. Because she didn't get to lead lap number 1 as she was passed. Now she's back up to the front where she was at the start. As now things are getting really racy up here, and as I'm trying to keep an eye out for people not in the draft, and it looks like David Rivera might end up losing it, as he is a couple miles per hour slower than James Qualls, since he's starting to lose the pack. But anyways, Jessica Shelton finds her way up to the front and looks like she will get the 1 bonus point for leading a lap. And now here comes veteran Dougie Shears, who returns to the 83 this season, but he's only a one-man team, as pretty much Anthony McCurry moved on to a brand new team. And the 82 is no longer in play, same with the 84. It's just the 83 for Red Bull Racing that remains. Excuse me. I apologize for that. Anyways, Dougie Shears currently leads the race, as he and Jessica Shelton have a bit of a gap between themselves and Preston Plord, who's in third, who in turn has a gap separating himself from the rest of the pack that's running up here. Let's go back and see if David Rivera has officially lost the draft, and it looks like he has. Meanwhile, James Qualls, PJ Williams are kind of within reach of the draft. And William Brock, despite having rear-end damage from getting hit by Seth Cole, he's somehow still able to hold it in the pack, which is interesting. Meanwhile, Jessica Shelton seems committed to try to help Dougie Shears pull away from the pack. And here comes early dominator of the race, Joshua Sekuli, back up into the picture. Emmanuel Hartnett trying to get around the 4 of Zach Flickinger, but gets left hanging as here comes Tim Walsh for position. Tim Walsh, who returns after a 1-season hiatus, returns in the 15, qualified into the Daytona 500, and now he's up here in the top 10. 3 wide, don't know for what spot, we'll find out on the ticker. 3 wide for 7th with Hartnett, Sean Galligan, and Dylan Young. Dylan Young with the advantage on the bottom. And then you got 3 wide again back here. Matt McIntyre underneath Dylan Thoreau, Dylan Poteet, as Poteet's starting to fade to the back. Oh, and they are coming across a slow car, and Paul Minnick. Oh, be careful. This is really going to shake up the field quite a good bit. Jessica Shelton, Zach Flickinger are the primary ones getting held up. Yeah, everybody's going to have to be very, very careful around the 9 of Paul Minnick, as now the pack is separated. Only 3 cars managed to get through: Preston Plord, Joshua Sekuli, and Dougie Shears. Trying to keep our eyes out on the 9, as the 9's actually holding up the bottom lane, which Dylan Young is on, and a lot of guys are getting held up, so this is really shaking up the field. And now he's going to come up and hold up the outside with DJ Curtis up there. So right now, DJ Curtis and Charles Sanford are now the 2 biggest losers of this situation. And you gotta wonder if they are going to come across someone else here momentarily, as now the pack has very much separated into a couple different groups. And the next one they may approach here very, very soon is Jake Rogers in the 87. Wonder what kind of damage it's going to do, or what Jake's going to do to the pack. And I'm always afraid whenever they come across slow cars that we're going to get a bad wreck because somebody decides to not want to move out of the way. And they are approaching the 87 fast. Oh, but Matt McIntyre pulls off in the pit road. Could that be a sign of green flag pit stops coming very soon? Coming a lot sooner than I thought it would. And now the leader is getting held up by the 87, which opens up... Oh, Jessica Sheldon thought she could have gotten on by for the lead, but then the 87 moved up right in front of her. Yeah, people are not... There's going to be a lot of drivers not too pleased with the 87 and the 9 still being on the racetrack. Oh, man, nearly 4 wide! Oh, and there they go! Oh, and it's going to be the big one once again. Oh, hard hit for Dylan Young. Oh, and more hard hits. And now Preston Plord on his side and on top of the 03. Dylan Jacobs involved. DJ Curtis. Oh, Paul Minnick. Oh, okay. I thought he was going to run over somebody. Dorian Facepuncher involved. Jonathan Zorline. Rafael Leduc has damage. A lot of key contenders taken out. All thanks to what looked like 4 wide gone wrong as they tried to get around the 87 and they just couldn't make it stick. This is shaking up the race in a big, big way. And we're coming to the halfway point, so let's go ahead and take a look and see what brought the caution out for the second time today here at the Daytona 500. Well, this wreck looks like it's going to get started right there as Jessica Sheldon tries to go underneath the 83 to get on around, but Tim Walsh was there, and Tim Walsh left the tire bottom lane wide open, and Dylan Poteet's going to come up and get into his teammate Tim Walsh. So you can tell there's going to be some tension within the Tweenix Racing ranks, and then as the 15 gets turned, he's going to come out right in front of the track, right in the Angel Alvera. Rafael Leduc takes a big hit. Preston Plord, Mark Lane. And then right there, that is an ugly hit for the 2 of Dylan Young. And then DJ Curtis runs into Dylan Jacobs, and then more cars get hit. And then there you see Preston Plord get hit by Charles Sanford, which sends him on his side and then on top of the 03. Let's actually look at the 40 car and see. First, it was a hit from Jonathan Zorline and then got hit by Charles Sanford and got up in the air for a second and then came down the banking, which sent him on his side for the time being. But yeah, a lot of key contenders taken out all because they had to go 4 wide for no reason. As we take a look at how this starts again, so yeah, they are trying to go 4 wide, and they should know better that does not work. Especially in the corners, because it can cause a wreck, and that was a bad wreck caused by a couple of big mistakes. But I want to keep an eye on the 99 and the 2, because, yeah, there you see the hit from the 99 into the 15 sends the 99 into the 2, and then the 2 just slam the outside safer barrier, passenger side first. So, and then right there was a big hit from Dorian Facepuncher into Dylan Young. I forgot to take a look at what happened to the 62 and how he got caught up in it. But yeah, a lot of key contenders taken out of the race as a result of all this. But let's go ahead and take you to the restart here in the Daytona 500. Well, after that big one, number 2, we got quite a lot of cars out of the race after that, and they include Tim Walsh, DJ Curtis, Dylan Young, Dorian Facepuncher, Dylan Jacobs, Preston Plord, Charles Sanford, Jonathan Zorline, and Jake Rogers. They all joined the rest of the guys who were out after the first big one. 27 cars left on track, 26 on the lead lap. Paul Minnick going to restart on the bottom, which is not a good idea. So this is going to get ugly, I guarantee that. But pit stops happened under the caution once again, so hopefully they can make it on gas the rest of the way. But Matt McIntyre is your new leader. Second is Dylan Thoreau. Third is Dougie Shears. Fourth is Charles Jackson. Fifth is Zach Flickinger. Sixth is Dylan Poteet. Seventh, Emmanuel Hardnett. Eighth, Pichu London. Ninth, Anthony McCrory. And 10th is David Rivera. 11th, Andrew Rich. 12th, Trent Dunham. 13th, Chris Dollarton. 14th, P.J. Williams. 15th, Phil Parker. 16th, James Qualls. 17th, Jessica Shelton. 18th, Joshua Sekuli. 19th, Johnny Gardner. And then 20th, Benjamin Miles. 21st, Mark Lane. 22nd, William Brock. 23rd, Jay Jefferson. 24th, Sean Galligan. 25th, Austin LaPlante. And then 26th, Rafael Leduc. So I guess Rafael Leduc was able to repair his car, and we'll see if he, along with a couple others ahead of him, are going to still be up to speed to continue and try to win this race. As the green flag is back out, Matt McIntyre leads him, but we're going to stay on the 9 of Paul Minnick, because when they came around him earlier, it caused quite a stir. So we're going to see how much of a factor he's going to be at affecting everybody's chances of going by for position. And it's already starting to happen. The bottom lane is getting held up. Apparently NNSCRA officials are not going to do anything about the 9 and take him off the racetrack. And now the 9 is going to hold up the outside lane as a result of being slowed off the pace. It looks like we got a new leader up ahead, and that's Dylan Thoreau in the 11. But right now the big story is the 9 of Paul Minnick, who's slowing off the pace, holding up the field, causing them to lose any shot of going for the lead right now. And right now it looks like it is, Phil Parker's the one losing out big. But that's good news for guys like Benjamin Miles and Rafael Leduc. They're now back up in the pack as a result. That is if the 9 doesn't hold them up. And now I think the 9 is going to hold them up, because now they are losing the pack. So the 9 pretty much screwed over a couple guys' chances of making a comeback. Anyways, up here at the front we have double Dylans, Dylan Thoreau and Dylan Poteet, up here in first and second. 3 wide for third, Chris Dollarton with a run. As I'm looking around, and yes, the 55 and the 99 have lost a draft thanks to the 9. Like I said, I don't know why NNSCRA officials are not doing anything to take him off the racetrack. Because we have seen it many times before. Lap cars just cause nothing but trouble for these drivers that are trying to race for the win. Meanwhile, a battle for the lead has ensued. Chris Dollarton now has the run on the inside and is going to take the spot from the 11. And now here comes Joshua Sekuli, who led early on. He's trying to come back up to the front. Excuse me. Oh, and here comes a big, bold move. Oh, he tried. Zach Flickinger thought about making it 3 wide for second, but didn't get there in time. And the 79 shut the door on him. But the front row people, Jessica Schell and Andrew Rich, are all up here in the top 5 battling. So who knows what's going to happen now in this race. But the pack is relatively got too clustered up into different groups, because we got a couple different separation points, and they're not all necessarily in the same kind of pack. They need to have a lot of guys who are running up high to end up losing more spots in hopes that they can catch him and try and get some kind of formation going in hopes of getting up to the front. As right now, Dollarton still leads, but Sekuli is right there on his tail. Andrew Rich finds himself up to third. Trent Dunham, the man who has been cursed at Daytona for so long, in so many other series, a former Snickers Cup Series Daytona 500 winner, I don't think has won a Daytona 500 on this channel, so he's trying to break that curse. Meanwhile, battle for 5th. Dylan Thoreau's got to run underneath the 24 of Matt McIntyre. So that's a battle going on right now as Dollarton continues to lead the way, as nobody's... I guess they're going to take their time and wait to make their moves when they feel the time is right, as it's now 12 to go here in the Daytona 500, and now we're going to have a fight for second, maybe not. Andrew Rich thought about making that move underneath of Joshua Sekuli, but had no drafting help to make it happen. Looking around to keep an eye out on some drivers, and it looks like everybody from Sean Galligan, so 19th or 18th on back, has now officially lost the pack. So tough break for a lot of those guys. Their best hope is if a caution comes out, and if a caution were to come out now, they wouldn't have to worry about the 9 of Paul Minnick being in their way, because he'd be in the very tail end of the field. So we'll see what happens. If a caution were to come out, which is definitely what guys like James Qualls is hoping for, it might create something interesting for the end. But anyways, we got a battle about to happen. Maybe not. I thought we were going to see a battle for third, but we got a battle for fifth, as here comes Emmanuel Hartnett underneath of Andrew Rich. As now things are sort of settled out to more or less single file, as drivers are seemingly not going to try and go for anything crazy. See the margin that separates the 5 from the 44. Pretty much 2 seconds separates this 5-car pack from the 5, who in turn is a half a second behind the 6, who is in the pack. As meanwhile, Chris Dollerton still leads the Daytona 500. And he's got a bit of a gap separating himself from the 11, which I don't think is going to be good when it comes down to it in the end, whenever cars and drivers are going to start getting more aggressive and try to go for it. And looks like some guys are already starting to go. Joshua Sekuli now battling for second, as it's now 9 to go in the Thanksgiving edition of the Daytona 500. Meanwhile, some drivers are trying to get formations going to try to get themselves up to the front. Andrew Rich gonna try. Ooh, that was a close one. I thought a wreck was bound to happen right there, but the 56 tried to get a line going to try to make something work, but the 24 shut the door on the 56. But it has brought more people up to the back bumpers of the top 3. And meanwhile, looks like Dylan Thoreau is going to try and separate. He just can't get the run because he doesn't have drafting help. He was trying to go for second underneath the 79, but he just couldn't make it stick. And now it looks like the 5 of Joshua Sekuli has officially lost a pack, and the 48, 83, and the 6 are starting to lose it. So it looks like it's going to come down to one of the top 13 to settle it out, although pit stops. Matt McIntyre's pulling into pit road, but then again, he pitted earlier than everybody else during that last green flag run, so you never know who's going to make it on gas, who's going to have to pit, who's going to risk it and try to stay out for good track position. As meanwhile, Phil Parker, Chris Dollerton's teammate, he's now up here in second. We haven't talked much about him, but he has avoided all the chaos, and now he's found himself up here in the front, although they're going to catch Paul Minnick again. Or maybe not, he's actually going on the pit road, but so is, quite a bunch of drivers are coming in. Pichu London, Dylan Thoreau, Charles Jackson, Dougie Shears, David Rivera all pull into pit road. So we're going to see some pit strategy come into play now, but the leaders stay out. Dollerton still leading over his teammate Parker. Meanwhile, Sekuli trying to hold off for third And here comes Zach Flickinger to maybe give him some help. Keeping an eye out on Dollarton. He's slowing up. He's coming into the pits. But Phil Parker, Zach Flickinger, Jessica Shelton, and Trent Dunham all decide to stay out. And also, 3 cars are going to stay out. P.J. Williams, James Qualls, Sean Galligan. They're going to stay out and hope for the best. There's Matt McIntyre, the first car that came out of pit road. I don't think he's going to cycle around in the position he wants to be in. But you never know what can happen. But the last thing that the leaders are hoping, the last thing that the leaders are wanting is a caution. They want to be able to cycle around to their respective spots. But Sheldon managed to get by the 12 after they caught the 6. And now Sheldon's going to come into the pits as the leader. And that's going to bring everyone else down. Will these 3 come in? And it looks like they are. So the remaining drivers that stayed out are coming in the pit road. Meanwhile, Jessica Sheldon, still for the time being, is your leader. But will she cycle around as the leader? That is the big question, as it's now under 4 laps to go in the Daytona 500. Sheldon going to go with fuel only. That's going to be a big, risky move. Will this gamble pay off? Or will somebody else take over the top spot? As here comes Dollarton, Sakuli, Pichu. Will they be able to get to the O2 in time? Which it's going to be very, very close, to say the very least. But there's Sheldon way up there. And they're starting to get reeled in by the 23. But I think it looks like Sheldon is going to cycle back as the leader. So that means it'll be 3 to go when we get to the line. The only person that's going to be able to try challenge the O2 for now is Phil Parker in the 12, and he's got to run. But you got to wonder if they're going to get caught by everybody else behind them. Trent Dunham and company, as this is a 7-car pack. That's probably about, it looks like, they're about 2.5 seconds behind these 2 drivers. And now we got to bow for the lead. Phil Parker with the run on the inside as we're going to helicopter view. Sheldon still pulling out strong on the outside lane. But now Phil's going to get that run on the bottom. So now Phil Parker officially, I think, he clears Jessica Sheldon for the lead. But you can see that pack is starting to reel in the top 2. 2 to go. Still some time left for these guys behind the O2 and the 12 to make something happen, as here comes Sheldon again with the run on the bottom. Jessica Sheldon trying to win the race from the pole. But she's got to try and fight the 12 and also have to worry about these people behind her in this pack, as they are going 6 miles per hour faster than the top 2. Oh, this is going to get interesting. Zach Flickinger is there. He is there to the top 2. Will they be fast enough to make a move? Flickinger's right there to the back bumper of the 12. Here they come on the bottom as the white flag is out for Jessica Sheldon. I don't think Sheldon has ever won a Daytona 500 that I remember in any series. But man, she's got challenges. Here comes Flickinger and Sakuli with runs on the inside. That may have just cost Sheldon the win there. Sakuli, who led early on, is back up to the front. But he's got Pichu London behind him, and he's going to open the bottom lane open. Pichu London could make something work. Can he get that run on the inside? He does! Pichu London in the 21 with a run on the inside. Can he make it stick? But he has no drafting help. But will he be able to hold them off? Oh, it's going to be a drag race right to the start-finish line. Sakuli with the run on the outside. It's going to be a photo finish. Checkered flag. Joshua Sakuli by a bumper wins the Daytona 500 on Thanksgiving Day. What a finish that was! 3/100ths of a second. Wow! That may have just been the closest finish in the Daytona 500 and Marvel Studios Cup Series history. That was epic. Wow. Unbelievable. Not only did Joshua Sekuli just win the Daytona 500, but that's his first career win in his second season in the Marvel Studios Cup Series. Man, that was amazing. But let's look at the rest of the results. Pichu London thought he had it by running on the inside as we just had a crash. Poteet and Thoreau got into each other. I'm not sure if they're mad at each other. But either or, Pichu London comes out with a great finish in second, but was so close. Had the run on the inside, but he didn't have drafting help, which I think is what cost him right there. But he's going to come through with a great run in second. Dylan Poteet started dead last in the race, was the cause of a couple wrecks, but finished third. Great run for the 31. Jessica Schoen was close to winning the race from the pole, but comes out with a solid run in fourth. And then the highest finishing rookie, Zach Flickinger, in the 4 car, finishing fifth. Dylan Thoreau with a great run in sixth. Solid 7th place run for Phil Parker. Great run in 8th for Chris Dollerton. Solid run in 9th for Trent Dunham. And then a great run in 10th for Dougie Shears. Rest of the top 20 was Emmanuel Hartnett, Matt McIntyre, Austin LaPlante, Charles Jackson, David Rivera, Andrew Rich, PJ Williams, Mark Lane, Sean Galligan, Jay Jefferson. Rest of the cars that finished on the lead lap were James Qualls, William Brock, Anthony McCreary, Johnny Gardner, Rafael LeDuc, Benjamin Miles. 1 car, 2 laps down, Paul Minnick, and everyone else was out of the race after the 2 big ones that struck here today. Tim Walsh, DJ Curtis, Dylan Young, Dorian Facepuncher, Dylan Jacobs, Preston Plord, Charles Sanford, Jonathan Zorling, Jake Rogers, Seth Cole, Chris Michaels, JT Bryant, Kyle Matthews, Matt Haas, and Joshua Collard. Well, that does it for our coverage here today on Thanksgiving Day for the Daytona 500. I hope you guys enjoyed this race. I certainly did, especially that finish. Holy cow. But that does it for Daytona Speedweek. Where are we going for the next points race? It'll be this Monday when we return to California Speedway for the Auto Club 400. But until then, here are your results. Rookie points and regular points heading into California. This is Levi McIntyre, signing off.